Hi guys, welcome to our third Sunday school lesson. I just want to start out by saying that I miss you guys and I miss being here in church on Sundays, but there's good news. This Sunday we are actually going to be doing our in-person services upstairs, so I hope you guys can make it out to that. The drive-in services have been fun, but it'd be good to just get everybody back together and seeing everybody's faces and everything. And like I said, I hope you guys are doing good at home and you're finding stuff to do and you're not getting too bored. But it's summer now, so hopefully you guys can play outside in the sun when it's not raining. So, alright, we're going to get started. And today our lesson is on Paul and Silas. And the story is in the book of Acts. So I'll give you guys a few seconds, but is Acts in the Old or New Testament? If you guessed the New Testament, then you are correct. If you didn't get it right, that's okay. We got more lessons to go, so you can try again next time. But it's in the book of Acts, chapter 16, verses 16 through 34. So I'm going to read the story and then go over it a little bit more and do some questions and have a little activity. Here we go. Paul and Silas were in Philippi. They had been telling about Jesus. They did other things that made some men upset. The men took Paul and Silas to the city officials. They told the officials that Paul and Silas were disturbing their city. Paul and Silas were put in jail, and the jailer put chains on them. While in jail, Paul and Silas prayed and sang songs to God. Suddenly, there was an earthquake. All the doors of the jail opened, and everyone's chains fell off. The jailer was afraid that the men had escaped, but Paul called out to the jailer, "Don't worry, we are still here. We have not left." The jailer was afraid, so he asked Paul and Silas about Jesus. Paul told the jailer everything that he knew about Jesus. The jailer invited the men to his home. He washed their wounds and fed them food. The jailer and his family believed everything that Paul said about Jesus. All right, so to just kind of summarize and go back over the story a little bit. If you remember in the past couple weeks, we've been talking about Paul and his journeys and stuff. And 2 weeks ago, Paul, he got together with Silas and they started on this trip. And they got to this one town and they met another guy named Timothy who joined along with them. And so they went on their journey and they were trying to figure out where they're supposed to go. So then God told Paul to go to Asia. And so, or he told him not to go to Asia, I'm sorry. He told them not to go to Asia, so then they kept praying, and they kept praying and praying and praying, and God finally came to Paul in a dream, and they figured out that they're supposed to go to Macedonia. So then last week, the story takes place whenever Paul's in Athens, and he's teaching there and everything, and he's just talking to all the crowds there and stuff. So then today, Paul and Silas, they're in Philippi, and they're telling everybody there about Jesus, and some guys didn't really like what they were doing, didn't like hearing what they had to say, so they went to the city officials, so probably like police officers in our time, and they ended up, Paul and Silas, getting thrown in jail. And the jailers, they put chains on them, so they were chained down. They couldn't try to escape. And so while they're in jail, they're just sitting there. They're like, man, was this a good idea? Like, what are we supposed to do? And so after they prayed and they talked to God, and they came up with the idea that they should just praise God and sing to Him and sing praises and pray. And so that's what they do. And when that happens, there was this earthquake. So everything, the whole ground, everything, the building, everything started shaking. And the jail doors just opened right up and all the chains just fell off everybody in the jail, not just Paul and Silas, but everybody. And so when that happened, the jailer was like, oh my goodness, like all these people, they've escaped, like I'm gonna get, and so that's when Paul was like, no, like don't worry, everybody's here, like we're all fine, we're here. And so the jailer was like, wow, like you guys were, praising God, and he made an earthquake happen and opened the doors and made your chains fall off. So the jailer, he was scared, but he was also like interested, like, yes, tell me about Jesus. And so Paul told the jailer, and he ended up taking Paul and Silas to his house, and he washed their feet and everything. And the jailer's whole family believed everything that Paul and Silas had to say about Jesus. All right, so now we have some review questions. So, I don't know, we don't have Jeopardy music this time, sorry. But the first question is, where were Paul and Silas placed? All right, so if you remember at the beginning of the story, they were in Philippi, but as they were talking about Jesus, some men, they didn't really like what they were talking about, so Paul and Silas got put in jail. So that's where they ended up being placed. And so the second question is, what did Paul and Silas do while in jail? All right, so while Paul and Silas were in jail, they were sitting there, didn't really know what to do and everything, so they just started praying. And they're like, you know what, like we just need to praise God and sing these praise songs. So that's what they did. They prayed, and then they praised him and sang songs. And the third question is, what happened in the jail? So if you remember in the story, as they were, praying and singing these songs to God, there was an earthquake. And so the whole jail shook, and it flung the doors right open, and it broke all their chains off. All right, and so the last question is, who did the jailer learn about? Okay, so the answer to that question, who did the jailer learn about, is Jesus, because that's who we should be teaching everybody about. So in the story, when all the doors flung open and their chains fell off, the jailer, he got really worried because he thought everybody escaped, but Paul was like, no, like we're still here, don't worry. And so then the jailer is like, please tell me about your God and Jesus, I want to know. So, all right, that's about it that I have for this lesson. We're gonna, in just a second, I'll tell you about your craft that you can do with it, but I just want to go over the weekly Bible verse. And this verse is found in Mark chapter 16, verse 15. And it says, go and tell the good news about Jesus. So that just kind of goes with the story about how Paul and Silas, they're in Philippi and they're telling everybody about Jesus. And then they get thrown in jail, and it's kind of like depressing and sad. And it's like, man, like we're in jail now. But even while they were in jail, they still, praised God, and they ended up being able to tell the jailer about Jesus. And so that's why even no matter what situation you're in, you should always tell people about Jesus. And that's actually the life point of this unit. It says people can tell about Jesus at all times. So no matter where you are, if you're at home, you can talk about him with your family. If you're at the grocery store, you can just go up to people and start telling about Jesus. If you're at school, home and school are probably the two main places right now that you'll probably tell people about Jesus. But like I said, you can tell people about Jesus anywhere. All right, so next we will do our craft. And for our craft, you're going to need scissors, tape, a Sharpie or any kind of marker, or even just a crayon. Doesn't really matter, just something to write with. And then you need strips of paper. And to be exact, you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 strips of paper. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the weekly Bible verse. So, like I said, it says, "Go and tell the good news about Jesus," and it's found in Mark chapter 16, verse 15. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make little paper chains. So you're gonna take your strips of paper and you're gonna put like each word of the verse on the pieces of paper. So this is probably gonna be backwards to you guys, but see, like the first one says go, and then the second one says and. So go and tell the good news about Jesus. So then you're gonna write it, and I just alternated colors. You don't have to do that. You can just use whatever paper you have. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the paper and you are going to make it a loop, and you're gonna take some tape or a stapler. If you have a stapler, you can use that if your parents will let you use a stapler. And so get some tape or staple and make the loop so you can still read it. Try not to cover up any of the letters. And where it connects in the back, you're just gonna tape it together. So then once you do that, you're gonna get another piece of tape and you're going to get your next word that goes next in the verse, and you're gonna put it through this loop and then connect it. So that way they're like connected to each other so they won't fall off. And then once you do that, you're gonna take some tape again and tape it on that back side. And then once you have them all connected, you'll have a whole paper chain with the whole Bible verse on it. So there's that. And this is just to show like how Paul and Silas, when they were in the jail, you know, they were chained down. But even when you're, you know, chained down and have chains on you, you can still tell everybody you know about Jesus. Alrighty, so that is all I have, I think, for this lesson. And also I'm going to post this worksheet with it. So, parents, if you just want to help them out the best you can with it, it's a pretty simple one. So, that's all I have. Again, I just want to say that I hope you guys are doing okay at home, and I miss you guys so much, and I'm praying for you all the time. I really hope that you guys can make it on Sunday, and hope I can see everybody. Bye, guys.